Roman Rudin's Strange Occurrence in the Region of the Heart. Over the last few weeks, we've read several of these short stories from this collection. So if I go back one page, back one page, we can see here the stories I've read. Or we've read, I should say. Le Traitement, this one here. The Songs of Maldoror, The Emperor's Palace. And this week, the last week in January 2026, we will be reading The Unassailable. The Unassailable. Let's click through again. So, The Unassailable by Roman Rudin from his collection of short stories, Strange Occurrence in the Region of the Heart. And I call this class preparation, the idea here being that you can read the story beforehand to get ready for when we read it as a class during the week. Let's go over to the text itself. Here we are. So there's only a few openings. I think 3 full page openings here. So there's one here. That's the second one. And the third one. Now, during the class, we may not get to read all of these because it is a little bit longer than what we've been used to. But perhaps over the week, we'll probably read the whole story. Let's go back to the beginning again. Here we go here. So, the unassailable. And the word unassailable, in a sentence, you could say if you have an unassailable lead in a race, perhaps you're running a race, if your lead is unassailable, it means you are perhaps so far ahead of the others in the race that they really can't catch you. You're just so many meters or even perhaps a mile or something ahead. But it's used in a number of different ways, the word unassailable. It could also be used in the sense of it, perhaps in a military attack. If something or someone is unassailable, then you might be able to attack them, but you just won't have a victory over them, you could say. That's one definition there. Okay, so here we go. So, my name is Gustav Braun. I'm a soldier. Every time I hear the age-old call to arms, my life starts over again. I was in the first rank of Alexander's phalanx, and already knew then that I was unassailable. I sowed the seeds of death and trampled on the corpses of my enemies. And right and left of me my comrades fell down dead with smiles on their faces, while Alexander knew the true value of my greatness only when I left his forces. Then followed Caesar's legions, the accursed barbarians, and centuries of dark oblivion. I forgot all the names under which I forgot for all those years. I was a witness to the rise of great empires, as well as to their complete annihilation. Damn modesty! After all, it was I who had fought these bloodthirsty leaders, brought these bloodthirsty leaders to power, as well as being the reason for their ultimate downfall. Once again, only once did I allow myself to be crowned, but I very quickly realized that my bestowal was becoming a heavy burden, and that if I didn't return to the ranks as an ordinary soldier, I would have to conquer the whole world, and that was not in my plans. I lived so many lives that I started quite naturally to recall how Alexander, with precise movements of his sword-clasped hand, would triumphantly direct his phalanx, which had managed to withstand the enemy's simultaneous onslaught on four sides. Or I would recall how Caesar, from the top of a hill, would look down on his legions, which had shattered the Greek phalanx that had proven invincible in the valleys, but powerless in the Balkan hills. Sorry, foothills. The ease with which I was able to see through the commander's eyes what was happening around me, what was happening around, made me begin to seriously believe in the unassailability of one of my warriors, who always found himself at the center of the battle, but who always emerged unharmed. Of course, I understood that I couldn't be simultaneously Caesar and the soldier, who had brought the former in a state of mystical awe, but there was nothing I could do about it. I was even suspected of lunacy and heresy, but I gave no preference to any of these to whom I ascribed my memories. My accusers could not drag me to the stake. And that's how things continued for quite a while. I learnt more and more about the world around me, about the people I came to live amongst. Over time, history resembled less and less the recollections I had of it. Gradually, I became Gustav Braun again, and Greece and Rome remained in the distant past, where I had no place. Every night the rivers carried their waters to the sea. All those many stars gazed down on me from the heavens, while I lay on the ground, protected by my shield, with my sword clasped in my hand, pondering my destiny for the countless time. How many fools offered me their entire wealth in exchange for my sword, thinking it was holy. With a wild fire in their eyes, they tried to persuade me to sell it, but when I refused, they would order me to give up my weapon, thinking it was the reason for my unassailability. God knows the measures I took to prove to them the vanity of their hopes. Once I simply threw the sword overboard when we were sailing with Columbus to India. But despite this, my hopes of dying in a battle for new lands were in vain. Spears, arrows, and bullets flew past me, unarmed as I was. As before, knives and sabers could do me no harm. Naive natives started to fear my appearance, and whenever I did appear, they would prostrate themselves in front of me or flee in terror. And this was how resistance of the most recalcitrant was smashed, while I, having little to do, started studying plants unknown to Europeans and their unusual properties. This occupation so engrossed me that from that time on, I never took up a weapon again, though every time that age-old call to arms rings out, my blood, whose color I don't know even now, pounds in my head in a hot steam. Because I am a soldier, was a soldier, and will ever remain one, despite having condemned myself to a long period of inactivity, so that in the future I should have something to compare to the idle fancies of historians concerning the past, my present. I began to describe what was happening around me. By that time, I had returned to Europe, settling in a small town by the sea, and providing a few generations of bookshop owners with a comfortable living, from time to time reminding them about their promise to keep my secret. Recently, I realized that my secret was worth more than the price I had paid for it, and that it was time for me to leave the town, which in 100 years would inevitably be just part of my imagination. Today, I saw my sword again. A man who didn't look like an archaeologist or an idle tourist, of which the streets of this town where I lit, where I while away my days are so full, laid it before me, laid it before me. He sits opposite me in an armchair, and a flame I know well flashes in my eyes, a flame that destroys all those who at one time thought of the idea of conquering the world, my world. I read my name on the untarnished blade, and next to it the age-old call to arms that heats my blood. In a moment I will kill this arrogant stranger, unless he turns out to be the devil himself, making an appearance at last to offer me something new in exchange for the eternity to which I had grown so tired.